Lost media is a topic that has always been of great interest to me. Pieces of media that have been lost to time, going unarchived, from lost SpongeBob episodes to strange or obscure commercials to video games that were pulled from shelves. But in the world of lost media exists pieces of media that were lost for a reason. They were lost on purpose. And today, we're going to be discussing a few of those cases that exist in the world of wrestling. Wrestling footage, matches, and moments that were erased all for varying reasons, and all for good reason. My name is Tom, welcome to the Top 10 Wrestling channel. Be sure to like the video and subscribe as we discuss the darkest wrestling lost media. In 1992, Eastern Championship Wrestling was born, and what started as just any regular promotion in Philadelphia would soon gather a cult following audience and regular spectators at events who were drawn to Eastern Championship Wrestling and their gritty, grunge, and hardcore style of wrestling, thus causing Eastern Championship Wrestling to appropriately rename to what it would forever be known as Extreme Championship Wrestling. In 1994, the ECW Arena was found, as well as their TV show ECW Hardcore TV. And the next year in 1995, the company was sold to head booker Paul Heyman, who would become synonymous with ECW and would take it to the heights that it got to. ECW succeeded because it wasn't afraid to push the boundaries, but sometimes it would come back to bite them, and ECW style would often see people get hurt, from wrestlers, fans posing as wrestlers, and fans. On 28th October 1995, Extreme Championship Wrestling was holding an event at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia with a main event of Cactus Jack vs Tommy Dreamer. It doesn't get more ECW than that. Tommy Dreamer won the match after planting Cactus Jack with the DDT, and after the match, a post-match brawl ensued, and once again, classic ECW. Raven came out post-match to attack Dreamer, hitting him with a DDT of his own, and Terry Funk also came out with a flaming branding iron to make the save for Dreamer and began taking it to Raven and Cactus Jack. The numbers game got to Funk though, as Jack and Raven beat him down and they held him back as they looked to brutalize him with a chair wrapped with a towel that was lit on fire.
Be cool about fire.
Fire spots are nothing new in wrestling. We've seen many of them. Mick Foley and Edge, Cody and Andrade, etc, etc, and for the most part, they are done safely. There are big things that need to be taken account for when doing fire spots. First of all is keeping everyone safe. That's the wrestlers doing the fire spot, the wrestlers taking fire, that's the fans, it's everyone. And another is making sure you are responsive if anything does go wrong so it can quickly be sorted. I think you know where I'm going with this. Cactus Jack hit Tommy Dreamer with the flaming chair and he caught fire. He went to hit Terry Funk, but he rolled out the way. Apparently what was meant to happen here was the chair rebound back at Cactus Jack and hit him. However, what actually happened was, due to the impact of the chair hitting the ring mat, the flaming towel fell off the chair and set Terry Funk on fire. And remember what I said earlier about needing to be responsive in case something goes wrong with fire? Well, ECW employees eventually run to the ring with fire extinguishers, but instead of helping out Terry Funk, who was very visibly distressed, they focused their attention on extinguishing the towel and putting out the fire on the towel. This led to fans trying to help Terry Funk out, which only led to the flames spreading further. And then the lights went out. The lights going out only caused further chaos as fans stampeded towards the exit with the flames still active. After many moments of panic, Paul Heyman ordered the lights be turned back on and the fire was put out. Finally. After it was all said and done, Dreamer and Funk were both hospitalized, with the former suffering a broken nose and burnt back, and the latter suffering second-degree burns on his right arm. A fan broke his nose and another fan broke their leg from the stampede, and numerous fans suffered burns. ECW were of course taken to court, with one fan in attendance attempting to sue ECW after claiming he suffered burnt hands. During this case, ECW claimed the tape for the event had been accidentally erased the following week. How convenient. The case was later dismissed, and when WWE purchased ECW Tape Library in 2003, it removed any possibility of footage of this show ever existing, if their claim that they accidentally deleted it isn't already to be believed. There is no fan footage of the event or incident, and the only thing we have are these fan-taken photos that have been displayed throughout the video so far.
Now, police in suburban Atlanta are investigating what appears to be a murder-suicide involving WWE wrestler Chris Benoit. The 40-year-old, his wife, and 7-year-old son were found dead in their home Monday afternoon.
We all know the story of Chris Benoit, the WWE wrestler who on the weekend of June 22nd, 2007, murdered his wife and son before taking his own life. It's one of the most notorious murder stories in history, and it's an event that brought about major changes to the WWE. After toxicology reports showed that Benoit had the brain of an 80-year-old Alzheimer's patient, WWE introduced their concussion protocol and would be much more strict in enforcing their wellness policy. But the biggest change made in regards to Chris Benoit and the WWE was WWE's attempt at completely removing Benoit from their history, which is something they followed through on, and to be honest, did the best they could given how prominent Chris Benoit was in the company. Chris Benoit was a main eventer in the company, a former world champion, Royal Rumble winner, and WrestleMania main eventer. So whilst it's impossible to scrub his matches and achievements, they've pretty much scrubbed his name from all programmings and media, except for one form of media. Chris Benoit's likeness and character still features in numerous wrestling video games, but perhaps the game that most of you will remember him for is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, and that's thanks in part to the fact that this was his most recent and last ever video game appearance. Playing as Chris Benoit is weird, because you are quite literally controlling a murderer in a video game. A real life murderer in a video game, and how many times can you say that? Okay, maybe a few times, but you get the point. But this all begs the question, if Chris Benoit's last appearance was in SVR 2007, what happened to him in SmackDown vs. Raw 2008? He wasn't in the game for obvious reasons and was most likely removed during development post-tragedy, but does footage or images of him in the game exist? Is there a build of the game with him in it out there? What can we find out about Chris Benoit in SmackDown vs. Raw 2008? Well, it turns out a Reddit user by the name of Cinnamon0999 had the same thought as me and posted the following on the Lost Media subreddit. As you may know, professional wrestler Chris Benoit killed himself and his family in 2007. He was taken out of that year's WWE video game at the last moment, with the game being delayed due to this. I've always been fascinated by the fact that so little of him in the game survived though. His moves remain in the game's code, but that's about it. No screenshots or a build of the game with him in it seem to have survived. There's barely any info about this at all. But I did manage to find some interesting information on some surviving forum posts. I was at the local game store, Game Crazy, Hackensaw, New Jersey, and they had the new WWE game out to demo it. What surprised me was that Benoit was still in the game. I was under the impression that he had been removed. When I mentioned it to the sales clerk, he said that as far as he knew, this was the game that they were selling. There was no recall or change that he was aware of. While this may be a dead end if this is true, and I'm not sure why someone would lie about it, then it's entirely possible there's a demo kiosk with the Chris Benoit version of the game. This would be an unlikely discovery. There was another interesting quote here though. In Games Master magazine, they published an article on the game where the main star / wrestler is Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, the magazine was released a day after the suicide and it was already published. Ouch. On another note, it was said he would be on the front cover. double ouch. So this post is interesting for many reasons. First of all, it features a story from an old forum post claiming a demo kiosk of the game with Benoit included existed, but it's the second story I read out that is far more interesting to me. This forum user is claiming that Chris Benoit was going to be the cover star for SVR 2008, which is kinda crazy, especially because they claim, as this post says, that this news was published in a Games Master magazine from June 2007 that was published the day after his death. So, a copy of this magazine has to exist, right? Well, unfortunately, after searching online for archives, I wasn't able to find an archive of June 2007's issue. However, I did find a copy on eBay, but it's been sold. Because I'm the one that bought it, we've got Games Master June 2007 issue. There it is. And as you can see, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 is included in this. Anything on the back? No, not really. Okay, let's just crack straight into this. I did not read this magazine, so I don't relate to any of this. We got here page 54 is the one, and you can also see here SmackDown vs. Raw 2008, page 54. Let's go straight there. Alright, here we go. I think we're coming up to it. Oh, here we are. Here we are, SmackDown v Raw 2008. What does it say about it? So at least on these two pages here, there isn't a sign of Benoit or mention of him anywhere. Nothing about him being on the cover, just regular SVR 2008 news. And, oh, there is more, to be fair, there is more. Not seeing anything immediately on these pages. Seems like we have another one to go through, though. That's it. Well, seemingly nothing to be shown here. Wow, what do you know? An old forum poster lied. Who would have thought? So yeah, either the forum poster has completely lied, or if the rare chance that an issue did come out, it would have been immediately recalled. But at least in this issue I have here that I found on eBay from June 2007, nothing in here about Chris Benoit and SmackDown vs. Raw 2008. So for now, all these questions about Chris Benoit and SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 remain a mystery. But you know what isn't a mystery? Your personal data, because it is being stolen from you and you might not even realize it. And the best way to stop this is Surfshark VPN. Surfshark VPN have kindly sponsored this video, and their VPN app is the best way to protect yourself online and encrypt your data from ISPs, hackers, and data thieves. As well as that, it offers the features of being able to change the location of your IP address, letting you access region-locked content. Essentially, Surfshark lets you access content that otherwise would be lost to you. Surfshark basically lets you access lost media. You see me linking it back to the video topic, you see me? Surfshark VPN are doing Black Friday deals, and if you use my discount code Top10Wrestling in the link below, you can get up to 6 months extra for free. I use Surfshark VPN for all the reasons I just mentioned, and I also use it so I can watch Lucha Underground on Tubi, because we don't get that in the UK. And a similar example of a way that you could use Surfshark is, say, if you wanted to use the WWE Network because you're sick of using Peacock, and I don't blame you. So once again, use my discount code Top10Wrestling in the link below. You can get up to 6 months extra free with Surfshark VPN, and if you don't like it, then there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so everyone's winning. In the year 2000, Mitsuharu Misawa founded the Japanese wrestling promotion Pro Wrestling Noah. Up until this point, Misawa had been wrestling for 19 years and was very accomplished, to the point of having a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to his achievements, and he would continue his in-ring career in Pro Wrestling Noah. And Noah's formative and early years were very successful for them. The first 5 years of the company saw them sat as the second biggest wrestling company in Japan, only behind New Japan Pro Wrestling. However, after this 5-year period, and partly due to Kenta Kobashi, one of the company's biggest draws, being away from wrestling due to cancer treatment, attendance would decline. Misawa had been planning to retire from in-ring competition in 2007, but due to him being the only real draw for Pro Wrestling Noah, felt that he had to continue wrestling. At this time, Misawa was in his mid-40s, and in the next year, his health would rapidly decline, whilst he would still continue to wrestle without any sign of a break. And that same year in December, he would win the GHC Heavyweight Championship for the third time, and his reign would last over 448 days. Once again, no breaks. He lost the title in March 2008, and despite the fact he wasn't champion and his health was getting worse with injuries accumulating, including osteophytes, which would cause neck pain from simple tasks such as just brushing his teeth, Misawa showed no intention of retiring, feeling obligated to still continue wrestling due to the fact that Noah was still struggling. So Misawa would continue on, doing more than ever as he would wrestle in other companies all across the world as well as Noah. On June 9th, 2009, Misawa did an interview with Tokyo Sports where he said that he wanted to retire and couldn't do this until he's 48. However, despite this, would not be retiring anytime soon, not at least until he puts over Go Shiozaki. Go Shiozaki is another wrestler on Noah that Misawa was trying to build up, presumably in order to take the spot from him so that Misawa can retire and that he no longer feels obligated to wrestle, as Noah now has a real draw that isn't just him. 4 days later at a Noah taping though, Misawa would team with Shiozaki in a match that would tragically end up being his last. On June 13th, 2009, Misawa and Shiozaki would challenge GHC Tag Team Champions Akitoshi Sato and Bison Smith for their belts. This match was scheduled to go 37 minutes, however at the 27-minute mark the match was ended at referee's decision, after Misawa took a backdrop suplex from Sato and stopped moving and stopped responding. The match was stopped with the champions being declared winners by referee decision, and this is usually where I'd say that the fans were confused by the finish and had no idea what was going on, but everyone in there knew exactly what was going on and something was seriously wrong, after Misawa remained motionless following taking the suplex. A doctor in attendance attempted to perform CPR to no avail, and an attempt to revive Misawa with a defibrillator was also made to no avail. He was taken to Hiroshima University Hospital where he was pronounced dead later that night, aged 46 years old. Misawa's death was absolutely tragic and is something that should never have happened. Misawa is a rare case of a wrestler dying in the ring, but what makes this more tragic is the fact that he felt like he had to continue wrestling, which he did, with no breaks whatsoever. Misawa will forever go down as a legend in Japanese wrestling for his contributions in All Japan Pro Wrestling and Noah, with Noah still running shows to this day. Misawa received various tributes following the tragedy by the wider wrestling world, and his private funeral was attended by over 100. He was extremely highly regarded in the wrestling world, and of course, this match from this taping never made it out, and there is no footage of the moment of his death. However, there does exist footage before and after the suplex. There is footage on YouTube, and there also exists news footage showing the attempts to revive Misawa. But perhaps the darkest piece of media, and the only piece of media that shows the impact of the move, is this photo on a 2-page spread from the Japanese wrestling magazine Weekly Pro Wrestling. The tragic death of Misawa prompted various promotions to walk towards stronger regulations, and executives of all the major wrestling companies in Japan to meet up and discuss regulations and safety. Misawa's death was a tragic story of a man who worked himself to death. The one thing this death proved was that Misawa was the most dedicated professional wrestler on planet Earth. His body of work and accomplishments in wrestling speak for themselves, and his legacy will forever live on.